Okay, Nick Collier here again, and we're off on another adventure. This guy wants me to make a centrifugal. Now, not the standard centrifugal that you see that spins blood, or, well, actually a blood centrifugal would be very close, except those are about this big. His wants to be about this big, and he wants to put 28 pounds of almonds in this centrifugal and spin them. And so I got on eBay and we came up with a 15-to-1 transfer box with a, God, it must be a 1-inch shaft on here, which is great because I can attach, okay, 7/8 shaft. I can attach the entire mechanism to the shaft rather than have to find, you know, support bearings and things like that. So, this will transfer the energy from this direction to this direction. He wants to spin at about 400 RPM at about a foot. And we're going to go out to 2 feet, so we're going to spin this at 200 RPM. And I came up with a little 1-horse electric motor, 3,500 RPM. That's going to transfer over to, not to this pulley, but I ordered a step pulley so that we could, you know, have some be able to adapt to the speed. You know, once he tries this out, he may go, oh God, it's going way too fast, so let's slow it down. So, you know, we might have to play with pulleys until we get it right. So the first pulley I ordered was a step pulley. That's on its way. So basically what I did here this morning so far is I just built 3 legs, so we have lots of stability. It's not gonna go anywhere. And then I'm gonna drill some holes in the plate here and lock this thing down, and then come in and put our motor in someplace right in about like that on a platform that I have cut. So that kind of brings you up to speed. What else? Well, I think that's about it, and we're going to continue to move forward here and see what we can do. Next in this step here is I want to be able to have this motor positioned on this plate, and I literally want to be able to get maybe 2 inches of adjustment out of it, just so that the belt, it can be the same belt, and we can run it up and down the step pulley. So I think what we're going to do is go ahead and take our measurements from the platform here and then cut some maybe 1-inch slots on both of those, and then we'll be able to do it. So let's do that. We're going to bring the motor over. Let's get the platform over here where it belongs. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's come over here. And what I have to do is center this thing here before we take any measurements. And I had something to center it with here just a second ago. What happened to it? There it is. All right, so we're going to find our edge, and we could actually find our edge with this, which would be a little bit more accurate, and then come in and measure to the, so it's 7.5 there. What is it over here? There's 7.5, so it's a little bit long on this side. So now we got 7 3/8, and 7 and pretty close to 3/8. And 7. All right, we're going to move it that way just a little bit. Almost. little bit. 7 3/8, and we should have a 7 3/8 on this side. Seven and a half almost. Definitely 7 3/8. Yep, that's close enough. So now let's just come in and we're gonna make, oh yeah, that's not gonna work, is it? So we can just kind of fake it by drawing a line here and a line about right there, and one on this side, just a little bit. Yep. And that a little bit more over. That looks good. And then we can just locate that one. Okay, so that's our center. We want to get this plate someplace like this. Let me get a clamp. Maybe right about there. Timber. Looks pretty good. Let's see what it looks like with the motor on here. Alright, well, we gotta move it over, obviously. Let's reset our position here. Something like this. Motor up, and that clamp is in the way. Okay, we can just move it over a bit. There we go. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like it. Except this wants to be the far outside adjustment, which would be here. You can't see, can you? That's better. And then we want to be able to slide all the way in to about there. Well, actually even further. So that would be our inside adjustment. And come all the way back out to our outside. Make our mark. And I think probably what we're going to have to do is relieve this this circle a little bit. All right, let's take the motor off. We've got our marks. And we want to relieve the circle by about here and about there and here. And about there. Okay. So we're gonna just come in a ways. So we want to go to there, and to there. I think. Might be a little shy over here. So let's bring this in a little further. Okay. That looks good. Yeah, I think we got it. So we're just going to take this whole piece out, and then once this gets in on top of it, it'll give us a little bit more strength, and we'll just weld this to that, and that'll be our motor mount. All right, so we'll be back. Well, it turns out that the table, that the leg platforms don't have a bolt on it, and you know, for a table saw, no big deal, which is basically what this was, or a radial arm saw, like a big honkin' radial arm saw. But this thing needs to have adjusters so that we can get the table totally flat, so that the arm rotates on its own rather than by gravity. So we've had to come up here a little bit, and we've had to take and cut those plates off. And here's one of them. Had to cut that plate off, get rid of it, and put a little bit thicker plate in with a backstop of a bolt or a nut. And then, so what we're going to do is the nut will go through, the bolt will go through, and you can see I've got this one welded in. The bolt will go through and go into this platform, and the platform will sit on the floor, and this will give us our you know, base on this wooden floor. So I think it's going to work out pretty good. We've got one of these welded in. We're going to come back and do the other ones here pretty quick, and we've set up our slots, and we're going to drill holes in them before we put our mill bit in. And I need to measure from here to here, just so I don't get that wrong. I mean, it is a loose measurement, but what the hell. From about there to somewhere in that general area. I would say right about there. All right, so this goes here, that goes there. They match up like nobody's business. All right, so now, and we've got from here all the way to about there. So that's a good 2-inch leeway there. Is it? Hang on. Yeah. Yeah. And then this can go all the way down there. Perfect. All right, so the next thing we want to do, I think, is let's swing over here. We're going to drill our holes for the mounting of this and then cut this out. Now, in order to cut this out, we're going to have to move this leg over just a little bit, which is not too big a deal because I just tacked them in. In fact, I want to break the legs in order to drill these. Otherwise, it's going to be a big mess. So we will be back. Well, no, let's break the legs off first. And we just barely got them tacked on, so no big deal. All right, good. Now we'll take this over to the drill press because it's round and there's no way to hold it, so we'll do that. And then we're going to just come in and torch out this part here. All right, so we've got 7/16 holes. We're going to drill 4 of them. And I'm guessing that we're going to be off just a little bit, but if we are, we can come back in and put a little bit of an oversized hole in 1 or 2 of these, and that'll be good. So let's go ahead and get started here. That looks good. Goddamn Craftsman drills. This chuck always comes loose. We'll do a quick countersink. Let's grind a little bit and be off. All right, well, so these feet are going to be the only thing that's holding this really off-balance machine up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some legs or some feet for it and drill some holes so that my customer can get this thing bolted to the floor and so that it won't go anywhere. So we're going to cut 3 of those. Actually, you know what? Let's take it out just to this edge, and that'll be perfect. Look at that. Well, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to drill into this. I've center punched it, it's centered, and I'm just going to set it down in here and drill part way in, just enough to get the bigger drill bit to set. flush. So the last thing I want to do is drill through into my vise. And we're going to get another vise for the rest of this. All right, we're welding the legs in. And this leg wants to kick just sideways just a little bit, so it can clear. Yep, back up. All right, I think that's going to do it. Now what we want to do is flip this over and make sure these pads are square with the legs themselves. And I think we're going to have to clean up to get ourselves enough room to do this. Flip it. Looks like this pad's tweaked just a little bit, but of course the leg is also tweaked, so we might be able to just kind of pull it back. That looks good. The pad's a little bit low. Alright, we can adjust it right here by bringing it up and just tacking that just a little bit. Oh, beautiful. Okay, next one, same problem. A little bit right here. Looks good. And that one actually looks good just like it is. Except that it's bent a little bit. There we go. Yep. Now let me throw a tack on the top of that. Everything looks pretty good. Now we'll put my mask on and go from there. Okay, let's have a look and see. Yeah, we missed. Not by much though. Let's see what. Yep. Pull this one, drop that one in, and we're looking good. So now, this platform kind of sits in somewhere right in here, and the motor sits on top of that. But I think this is enough for today. This is just about the right length bolt. So I'm going to get some other bolts like this, and nuts and washers and all that stuff, and get that thing in place. We still have to kind of clean this up real good and paint it. In fact, maybe we're going to just spend a little time. Okay, it's the next morning. We are ready to rock and roll here. And you know, part of shooting from the hip is things don't always work out. And then so that's what happened here with this piece of metal. We dropped it down on there and I realized, oh, no, it needs to be over here for one. And the leg is right in the way. So, you know, after a bit of thinking and trying to work it out, I came up with just stepping it up a little bit so that it's up in the air. You can get your finger around the back side of it, loosen the nut, which is mainly what needed to be done. And then the motor goes on and the two shafts line up. So we got that. And we could just weld it in, except I want to do one thing. I want to take the motor and drop it in here, get it kind of squared up. In fact, let's just put some bolts on it. There we go. And try to square the motor up with. Alright, I don't think it's going anywhere. No, it's not. So we've got a full, oh, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 inches. How come we're not coming all the way? There we go. Yeah, so we got a full 2 inches to adjust to, and that shouldn't be a problem. Now, I want to make sure our two shafts are lined up, and that looks pretty good. Let's bring this back just a little bit just so we don't have any banging. That looks pretty good. I'm thinking maybe even just come back a little bit more. Let me get a square. Alright, let's square up to the shaft here and come all the way over to this shaft. So we can come back a little bit. Now we're going to have something like this here, and this isn't going to line up so easily. let's move it that way. That'll be better. And that's just about right. So somewhere right in there. Line our shaft up with our other shaft. Let me get another square. All right, we got one shaft and our second one pretty damn close. All right, so we're going to just tack it in place here and see what we've got. Let me go get the welder.